Alright, today on the Apache.
All it takes is one job, oh yeah. All it takes is one job, and everything is gonna be
okay. I've cut down the bracket here. I used to have these extender here that's on the stock Duramax that gapped it out from the firewall, probably because I think the fresh air vent kind of hangs over it. Anyways, I cut that down so this would sit back another probably 4 inches almost, maybe. And then I've made a nifty little bracket that holds the transmission cooler. It has a fan on it. It will be able to pull that air through from underneath here and should work good. A few just other little adjustment things and things like that. Got the brake pedal in, got the gas pedal in. Just everything I wanted to get done before we take this cab down to sandblasting. Let's see our pedals down there. Turned out pretty good. The brake pedal's up a little bit high, but it's just kind of the way it is. Got the truck cocked at a weird angle here to get around the 39 because for some reason my projects are in here. We're going to see if we can't lift this cab off. Then we need to make a cart for the cab to go down to sandblast. I'm going to try to make a cart that can flip on its back so you can sandblast the bottom. Or maybe it'll flip forward. I'm not sure. Might have it flip forward because there's less sandblasting to do on the front, and some of the support system would be in the way. At any rate, we're going to do something. Alright, so there's a few things I want to do here. One, I've been wanting to get this replaced because whoever took the truck apart the first time, this frame was a donor frame and trans that came from another person's project, and they really cut and bent up a lot of things that cost a lot of money in the end. Like they cut the brake lines, which was totally unnecessary, bent this all up, you know, like this is a $100 part. So I couldn't replace it with the cab on there, so I need to get that new one on here while we have access to it. You can kind of see our battery tray now and our trans cooler there. There's a few mounts that I want to clean off that we don't need. There's a motor mount down in here that we don't need from the Duramax motor. But I'm going to make a rack that'll go under this truck to haul the cab down to sandblast. And I think I'm gonna just go ahead and lay a bar from here to here, and that'll be our angle for the bottom of the cart. And then I can just make a kind of a stem, kind of like I got here, that'll bring the cab up to where the cart can roll, you know, without dragging these rockers. So I'm going to move this battery out of the way, and then I have some steel that we're going to recycle because we were making ramps for that truck and then figured out, why are we making ramps when they make aluminum ramps that we can just buy? But we had already purchased the metal and started making the ramps, so I had to buy all that, buy out the customer on the hours and the materials that we used on that one. So I'll use it for this project, but I need to cut some of those ramps apart to start making this. So we'll start hauling some of that metal in, start making us a cart. All right, we got these thick washers and I welded the nut on them. What we'll do is these aren't the bolts we're using, these are little tiny guys, but we'll stick the bolts through the cab there. We'll screw these onto the bottom and then we'll set the cab over the posts and weld the washers into the posts, and that way it's guaranteed to line up. Oh doggy. It rolls the cab around. So I might have to make those washers that I welded the nuts to, I might have to make a bigger plate because it's just not spanning over the top of the tube good enough. But what I got here is something that you can possibly, oh boy. I think what I'll do is take a little mount here and bolt into the hinge mounts, which is another strong point on the vehicle. But essentially what this can do is it can go on the trailer, go down to sandblast. I'm not going to have a seat in it, I'm not going to have the doors on it, no column in it, so everything's going to be stripped off, visor, little vents and trim, everything will be taken off of it, hinges. It'll just be a bare cab. And so I'm going to make a mount that comes off here, bolts into the hinge mounts, and then it can roll onto the trailer, it can roll around at the sandblaster, but what it can do is this can tip down and you can sandblast the bottom, work on the bottom. So it's kind of like a cab rotisserie or a cab 90 degree, not quite a rotisserie. And I think if I get this bolted into the cab, you know, it is a cab, they are heavy, but they're not actually that heavy. I mean, it's lighter than an engine, and you've seen an engine stand. This is basically the same tubing an engine stand is made out of. Jared's just in the back jacking it up with just the regular jack to kind of get it started on its roll here. Looks like I am going to need to make some like stakes for these, or pins for these wheels. Yeah. Because now they're rolled the other way. Alright, you ready?
Yeah, that's what we've got here. All I can lift on this side. Okay, ready?
Just one sec. It hasn't even got any weight on my end yet.
Yeah, it's like I'm just barely feeling resistance on it now.
Yeah, now it's starting to get. Easy as pie!
Would you look at that?
Would you look at that?
I mean, just look at it.
Just look at that. Not bad for an afternoon. Imagine that I'll be able to use this tool for as long as I'm in the biz. But now, instead of having the cab on a giant rotisserie, you know, it's one thing to put a giant, like that car was on a rotisserie, the whole body, you know, and it's a big thing, you know. But this is so much smaller, and the Nash is on my rotisserie. So instead of buying another $5,000, $6,000 rotisserie, we got about 450 bucks in the steel on this and some donated casters. But I think that's cool as hell. W's, boys. W's.
All it takes is one job,